What kind of computer do you need to get started in IT? This is a question that I get all of the time, and this is going to be a contribution to the Home Lab series that I'm still producing. So if you guys are wondering, like, what are the bare minimums on the computer specs that you absolutely need to really get your feet wet with some of the different labs that you'll be doing or some of the different courses that you may be taking, in this video, we're gonna cover all of that. Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is Zach with IT Career Questions, and I'm here to help you today by guiding you in the right direction on the bare minimums of the specifications that you need to really get started in IT. Now, it's a question that really has a multitude of answers, but it's always going to come down to, do you need to spend $2,000, for a brand new MacBook, or can you spend a couple $100s on a computer from Walmart? That's really what we're gonna discuss and really kind of dive into in this video, because I want you guys to know that you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a computer to do anything that is required of you in an IT. It's not required. Now, the bare minimum that you absolutely need in 2022, because that's coming up like next 2 days. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Sorry. Anyway, you need 8 gigs of RAM. Like, that is the absolute bare minimum. But I think that everybody should have at least 16 gigs of RAM. That is going to be the only specification that I'm going to really highlight in this entire video, is the amount of RAM that you need. Because anything that you buy currently, even anything that you may have received in the last 5 years even, maybe 6, 7 years, the processor is going to be more than capable to do many of the things that you need to do. So just keep that in mind. Like, it can be an older processor, that's okay. The RAM is where you're going to really want to put the most focus. So that means if you have an older computer, if you have an older laptop that can be upgraded, or if you have a desktop computer, you can actually just buy more RAM to upgrade your RAM. So if you only have 4 gigs of RAM now or 8 gigs of RAM now, you can buy 2 8 gig RAM sticks or a single 16 gig RAM stick or more. Always having more RAM is going to be the most beneficial thing for you. Now, I want to talk about this in requirements. Now, the reason why I am saying this is because a lot of what you can be doing if you're getting started in IT is building labs at home. And all of this can be done through virtualization. So you could take any computer that you have and you can virtualize just about every single operating system that's out there from that single computer. There's software like VirtualBox, like VMware, that will actually let you do this. So you can download Windows operating systems, Linux operating systems, even the Mac operating system, and you can virtualize that from your very own computer. The only thing that you need to take a look at is, what are the specifications of these different operating systems that you wish to virtualize? Now, I'll throw up a couple examples here on the screen so you guys can see. These would be requirements for a Windows Server operating system, and this would be requirements for the Linux operating system. So if you look at the different specs that they require, these are the minimum requirements that you need to run these operating systems, to virtualize these operating systems. So even if you have a 5-year-old multi-core processor, you can see here the processor requirements just to run a single version of Microsoft Server or a Linux operating system. Now, if you have a sufficient processor, you can definitely virtualize multiple operating systems. The biggest bottleneck that you're always going to have is the RAM. You can see here, these are the bare minimum requirements that you would need to have to virtualize Linux operating system or a Windows operating system. I'm just using these as examples here, right? They have very low RAM requirements, but if you want to have an optimal performance out of these virtualized operating systems that you'll be running, you'll want to increase the RAM. So I always take a look at those minimum requirements and say, I want to at least have double the amount of RAM that I can allocate to that virtual machine. So we could probably run them all at the same time if your processor is powerful enough. That's going to be kind of that second bottleneck that we're talking about here, is if you don't have a sufficient processor, so you want to have something with a few cores to it, 2, 4, 6, 8 or more if you can. because you want to be able to virtualize as many of these operating systems at the same time going forward when you're trying to really understand the different like skills and things that you need to learn in this field. I hope some of this makes sense to you. If not, we're going to have future videos that kind of break all of these things down. But really, the point of this is, if you're trying to get started, like, these are kind of like the bare minimums that I think that you would need for a computer. And again, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars, even hundreds of dollars to buy a new computer. You can upgrade your very own computer for very cheap. I mean, it's only cost like $50, $60, $70 maybe for 16 gigs of RAM. That is a very, very cheap way to upgrade your system. Now, the very last thing is going to be the storage. You're definitely going to want to have at least 512 gigs of storage, so keep that in mind. And again, most computers, you can upgrade the storage. Now, the only caveat that we could say around this is that a lot of the Mac computers that were released in like the last 6 years, maybe longer now, especially like the MacBook Airs, the older, even older ones, probably like maybe 10 years now, maybe, I don't know, it's a long time. They've, Apple has basically eliminated the ability for you to upgrade the components in those systems. So like the Mac, the M1, it's a brand new computer. I cannot upgrade any of these components. It is the way that it is. Now, I mean, I probably could upgrade them, and it may be very, very difficult, and I might have to solder some things. That's a completely different story. We won't get into that. Anyway, this is a $300 laptop from Walmart. I think it was actually cheaper than that. It was like 250 bucks. It only has 8 gigs of RAM, but it lets me virtualize at least an operating system or two. Definitely it'll let me virtualize Windows and a Linux operating system at the same time, but it is much slower. I mean, this thing only has, let's see, it has a Pentium Silver processor in there. So it's not that great of a processor, as you can see from these specs, but it does get the job done. It will work, but it's definitely going to be a little bit slower. So keep that in mind. Back to the storage, because I didn't finish there. Yes, so storage, definitely at least 512 gigs. You can see from the specifications that are required for Windows Server and Linux, you don't need that much storage, but you know, depending on what you're going to be doing, you want to have a sufficient amount of storage just so that you can run all the different applications and such from your host operating system as well. So the very last thing that we're going to touch here is gaming, because I know somebody's going to throw in the comments, well, like, what if I want to game? That's all on you, because at this point in time, it is ridiculously expensive for graphics cards. I don't know if you know this or not, but it's ridiculous. Seriously, like, redonkulous. Completely different story. But anyway, if you want to do gaming, you know, like, using this as an example, this actually runs games really well. I was really surprised about that, being that it's a Mac, you know, whatever. But like this laptop, I don't think it would really run much of anything, to be honest with you. I don't even know if it has a GPU in there. I don't even know if this processor could be hybrid. I don't know. Was it? I don't know. Anyway, this isn't going to run anything. You're going to have to look at upgrading. So if you have a desktop at home, you can upgrade the video card there. If that's something that you're looking to do, it is by no means a requirement. So if you're looking to purchase a new laptop or a new computer, having a graphics card is not going to make any difference for anything that you do IT related. I cannot stress that enough. There is absolutely no reason that you need a graphics card other than because you want to do a little bit of gaming, and that's okay. So if that's something you want to do, go down that route. But we've covered kind of the specifications, the requirements that you would need to kind of get started with the IT field. And again, just to kind of highlight why I believe all of this is important for those of you out there who are looking to get started in IT, when you start diving into this field, you're going to find that there are so many different opportunities for you to follow along, where you can virtualize these operating systems and actually follow along with a lot of different tutorials out there. And it is going to be the most valuable experience that you can get on your own time. It's not really going to cost you anything, right? Some of the training costs a little bit of money. Otherwise, there are a lot of great free YouTube tutorials out there that exist that'll walk you through basically any different kind of scenario that you would need to understand as an entry-level person trying to get into IT. Even me, for example, I have videos out there showing you how to install VirtualBox, download Windows operating systems, and then virtualize them through VirtualBox. I walk you through the entire step-by-step process on how you can do that and spin up a Windows Server operating system. And then we go into details on how to promote that as a domain controller and how to add Active Directory services to that so we can learn and configure Active Directory. These are very great fundamental things that you can learn all on your own, all for free. And I strongly suggest that you do that. So follow along with my videos, go out on YouTube, follow along with other people's videos, but these are the requirements that you kind of need to really help you get started in this field. Again, you can have 4 gigs of RAM. You're probably not going to be able to virtualize really anything very successfully. If you have 8 gigs of RAM, you should definitely be able to virtualize something. And again, processors, 5 years old, maybe even as old as like 8 years old, could definitely virtualize multiple operating systems at the same time, provided you have sufficient RAM. And then storage. Storage is like the last thing because storage is so cheap nowadays. It's whatever, right? You could buy like a 12 terabyte hard drive now, I think. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I hope you guys found this video useful. I just wanted to highlight some of these things really quick and do just kind of a different video that I haven't done for a while. I hope you stuck around and watched it, and that's all I got for you. So as always, take it easy.